All right, guys, we are live for another episode of Fredrickson Health Solutions. Today, we have a very special guest, Michael Meuth, who is going to be talking about neurofeedback, which is a form of biofeedback. And I don't know too much about this subject, but I have seen and heard about people getting fantastic results from depression, anxiety, etc. So I'm so excited to have Michael on today. So Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about how you got into neurofeedback and what people can expect from that.
Hi, Robert. Thanks for having me. I started my practice in 2006. I guess I should start with my name. My name is Michael Meuth. I'm an acupuncturist herbalist. My company is called Headwayhealth. I started that in 2007, actually, and started doing acupuncture, and I saw a lot of people for anxiety and depression. It's pretty rampant, I guess, in the world right now. And I was getting a lot of results with helping people to kind of feel better, feel more energized, motivated, less anxious, less stressed. But I would hit plateaus with people, even working with nutritional medicine and herbal medicine as well. So there was a couple clients that I was looking for the next step for. They had already been through therapy. They didn't want to go to therapy. They didn't want to do drugs. So I was doing some research, and that's how I found neurofeedback. And I was fascinated by it. And so I was looking for a place to refer these clients, but I ended up getting so excited and fascinated by it that I decided to get some equipment and start helping people with it in my own practice.
That's awesome. So you've been doing neurofeedback for 7 years, right?
Yeah, about 7 years.
And for people who just have no idea what this means, can you explain what neurofeedback is, the process, what people could expect if they were going to go to someone who's doing neurofeedback therapy?
Sure. So there are kind of two different types of neurofeedback, really. There's the traditional style neurofeedback, which is linear style, and there's what I do now is called dynamic neurofeedback, or nonlinear. And when I started, I actually started doing a different type, which was linear style. And so I'll talk about that for a second. It's the linear style is basically doing a scan of the brain and all the brain waves in every lobe, and figuring out where all those levels are, all the alpha waves, beta waves, theta waves, etc. And then kind of printing out a map and comparing that to what we would say is the optimal brain. And then we would do protocols to help the brain switch into those more optimal patterns. And it is effective. It helps. I got away from the linear style for a couple of different reasons, but I'm really enjoying the dynamic neurofeedback, which is what I do now. This is more of a holistic style, really. It's giving the brain information about what it's doing and letting the brain choose how to reorganize itself and how to structure itself. And primarily what we're doing is we're helping the nervous system to really balance out and to create a state, ideally, or ultimately a state of resilience and flexibility. And so to help the brain to reorganize itself and to be kind of primed and optimal, but not based on kind of pushing brain patterns and hoping they stay, but instead we're essentially giving the brain a mirror to what it's doing, and the brain sees itself and adjusts itself, just like you would look in the mirror and maybe you see yourself slouching, and then you see just kind of automatically you help correct your posture. So that's actually how the brain works as well. When we give it the information that it needs, just about its real-time activity and the state of the nervous system, it shifts and organizes itself.
Awesome. And so is that you're putting electrodes on the brain, different areas right of the head, and then you're analyzing that on the computer, which is giving you real-time feedback into which kind of brainwave they're in. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that is actually more the linear style.
Linear style, okay.
Yeah, so with, and the type of neurofeedback, the dynamic, the brand that I use is Neuroptimal, and It's one of the only ones that's dynamic out there, if not the only one. And so we're actually not trying to analyze alpha wave, beta wave, theta wave. We're not looking at that. We're letting the brain really sort that out on its own. And it's based off all the algorithms, that are in the system. And it is real time. So they get real time, the client gets real time feedback on what their brain's doing. And when it comes down to it, we're looking at the nervous system, whether the nervous system is in fight or flight, stress response, sympathetic system, or if it's in the rest and digest response, parasympathetic nervous system. And so the brain sees itself and can calibrate. So I can actually go on a little more. One analogy I like to use is, besides the mirror analogy, it's not pushing the brain patterns. It's like that little rumble strip on the side of the highway when you're traveling down the road and you roll over the rumble strip and it says, meaning you're going off the road. That's essentially what this system is doing, is it's saying, hey, your brain's switching. You're switching. And so when your brain, the subconscious brain, sees, oh, I'm switching, I'm going into fight or flight right now, but I'm actually in a safe environment and there's no need to do that. So it sees itself doing that and it says, wait, I don't need to do that. So that actually helps the brain to reorganize itself completely and create new neural structures and pathways that are based on a more balanced approach to the present moment.
I love that analogy. So it makes so much sense. Like a lot of times this is going to be unconscious. You're not going to have any idea that maybe you are in that super fight or flight response. And then I know a lot of people talk about meditation, taking time to themselves, or maybe even binaural beats. Maybe we can talk about those in a little bit, but just getting something to say, hey, your brain is going here. It's nothing to be stressed out about. You should not be, putting on or turning on all these catecholamines in your body, all these, cortisol, stress, related hormones. We don't need this right now. We're just driving. There's no stressful stimuli, but sometimes people have these things turned on. They become stressful HPA axis dysfunction. And so can you talk about how much faster this would be for someone who just can't course correct on their own? Maybe they've tried meditation, they've tried some other things, or maybe they just can't do it. Maybe they just don't have the access. Can you explain how that would be a little more beneficial?
Absolutely, and that's a very real thing. Sometimes we're so stuck in a fight or flight response and we can't get out of it until we exhaust our adrenals years down the road, and then we're forced to kind of reckon with it. But way before that, this can actually help people to break that pattern and break the habitual cycles, whether it's, being stuck in a mental loop constantly, not being able to sleep because of that, or waking up with anxiety, waking up in panic. And really those things are, mostly all based on trauma. So it's past trauma, whether that trauma is a huge life event that you really saw as a huge deal and changed your life, or if it's little traumas or long periods of stress, it's that builds up and wires the brain a certain way. And so, people are stuck there. Deep depressions, constant states of fear and anxiety, unable to focus, things like that are kind of symptoms of the nervous system being locked in. And so it's actually pretty remarkable when you sit down in the chair, you hook the sensors up. We call them sensors, not electrodes, because nothing's coming out. But the sensors are picking up basically that shift in your brain state and giving you feedback on that. Just a 33-minute session, it's one 33-minute session, actually can help people and helps people all the time in my office to kind of, after the session, they feel better. They feel more present. It's really, the present moment is not so bad anymore, and they're not stuck in the past or the future.
Right, so sort of having breakthroughs, so to speak.
Yeah, well, actually, there was a client several months ago, maybe 6 months ago, that came in, and And she was in that state. She was in that state of anxiousness and depressed, and couldn't turn it off really. And did the consultation, hooked up the sensors, and started the system. Came back in the room a half hour later, and her breathing had changed like dramatically. Like she was kind of shallow breathing, fast breathing. Came back in, and she looked very relaxed. She was breathing normally, and I unhooked the sensors, and she didn't really say anything. And then she finally sat up, and she actually looked at me, and she looked down, and she said, "Is this real?" And it was that dramatic for her because she hadn't felt that good in so long, and all we did was help her basically to discharge all of that that loop, that stuck energy, those mental circuits that she was just running.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so it seems like a lot of people wouldn't even realize that they would need something like this. Like, what kind of patient types do you see the most coming in? Is it more like, I'm really stressed, I'm really anxious, I know I need help? But for people listening, maybe that do need it and don't realize it, what kind of patient types would you say, hey, you'd probably be a good candidate for something like this?
So right now, everybody during lockdown, just kidding. Yeah, if you're stressed, I always tell people, just come get a session. Just come in, get one session. You don't have to do a bunch of sessions. One session can help you just to relax. If you can't, if you're normally, somewhat able to relax, then just come in for a session if you can, and it'll help you kind of reorganize, reset yourself. But largely my clientele are people who have tried the medications, or they're still on them. People who have really gone through and tried a lot of things. I'm often the last kind of ditch effort. The people they find, Neuroptimal, they hear a podcast or something, and they say neurofeedback could help. And so people that are anxious, people that are depressed, those are the people who I see most.
What about athletes? What about athletes trying to take their game to the next level? Maybe they're having a kind of just a mental, barrier that's, not allowing them to get to the next stage. Maybe they're having performance anxiety. Do you ever see athletes?
I do see some athletes, and it definitely can help you to take things to the next level. Actually, there are a lot of athletes that come through my buddy in Detroit. He has a place that does Neuroptimal, David McCullough, and he sees a lot of athletes, and I think MMA fighters and basketball players, all kinds, because it just kind of helps. It really, the brain nervous system is so powerful, so important when you're doing high intensity sports, highly competitive sports. It could help you take swings off your golf game. It's definitely something that can improve performance.
Awesome. And so you said something about the treatment time. I just want to see if there's any science behind it. Why is it 33 minutes?
Yeah, good question. It's all the spiritual aspect. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I think just through the years, Neuroptimal's been around since 2000, I believe, and so through all their clinical trials and testing and case studies, they found that 33 minutes is kind of an optimal amount of time to get the feedback. And just to expand on that, the 33 minutes is actually broken down into 4 different sections. So there's like a warm-up part at the beginning, and it's all seamless, and you don't know the difference in the transition, but it's just the algorithms, how they change. So it's like a warm-up to get you relaxed and comfortable. There's an active phase, an integration phase, and a cool-down phase. Really, that's kind of how we describe it. So I guess 33 minutes is what they've found to be just as much as you need. And we actually see people, I always recommend people start with twice a week, and then maybe after a few weeks shift to maybe once a week if they want to slow down. But that gives you the twice a week for a few weeks, gives you good momentum, gets you feeling better faster.
Awesome. Awesome. So for anyone listening and they're not maybe familiar with this, can you kind of go over the brain states, what they mean, and how we should, maybe go in between or how we go in between alpha, beta, theta, et cetera, throughout the day, and how probably more people are in beta, right? More of the scattered thoughts, and how we should be in more of the alpha, more of the conversational type. So yeah, I'm not an expert, so go ahead and explain this.
Yeah, we're pretty much in kind of, every different lobe has a different mixture of, they all have all of them, right? It's just a matter of what you're producing predominantly. So we're actually mostly in beta right now. Concentrated thinking, that can also, we could also be an alpha. Alpha is more relaxed, more, your body's relaxed, you're meditating. Is kind of a good meditation state. Is that happy kind of buoyant feeling of alpha. So not so much the cognitive focus. And then you have, above all that, you have gamma. And gamma is really, it's the least known. It's the newest one that we've discovered. And it's actually something that monks really hit. And so we don't know as much about gamma as we know about the other ones. But the next one down is theta, and so theta is your first levels of sleep. You can get to that in meditation too, and then delta is pretty much super slow brainwave in your sleep. So they're totally subconscious.
Very cool. So during neurofeedback therapy, you're maybe in beta, and you're shifting to some alpha, right? Maybe even a theta if you're even getting into deeper meditative.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that you're going to be, most people are going to be pretty relaxed in it. And yeah, and you can actually even fall asleep during these sessions fairly easily. So.
I bet. So I guess for hierarchy, because this seems to be more popular. There's float tanks happening. People are using binaural beats. What is the hierarchy? What do you, in your opinion? So neurofeedback probably the top, and then what's second, what's third? And should we do all of them?
As far as for what results? For like optimal function?
Like I need help. I need a shift. I need some course correction as fast as possible.
Okay.
What would I?
Yeah, neurofeedback is amazing. I combine sometimes for people, I'll combine acupuncture with neurofeedback, and that can really help them to relax. In the previous technology I had, I have a screenshot of what happened when I inserted the first needle, and it was pretty cool. We see basically the system really gelled, and it really relaxed when that first needle was inserted. But for neurofeedback, it's amazing to help you just chill out and relax, and to start that process of your brain learning how to do that. It's on its own. Float tanks are absolutely amazing. And if you've never done one, then and your brain is kind of always going, it's you'll see that it's, some people think it's even like terrible experience, torturous, because it's dark, there's no sound, really there's no sensation because you're floating in body temperature water, salt water, and so all your 90% of your sensory input information is cut off, and so the brain starts screaming, and it's like freaking out because it's not used to this, and it differs for different people, but it takes 30 minutes or an hour to really let the brain, until the brain actually says okay and relaxes, or maybe not even that first float. And I think that there's it's common to do like a 3-pack series for floats, so that you can get that effect a little easier the next time, a little easier the third time.
Awesome.
So as a hierarchy, flotation is absolutely great to combine with this. And what's next? Well, meditation, that's something that you can definitely do every single day or the majority of the days of the week to get amazing benefits. The studies are just incredible about all the benefits that meditation can help with. And I think it's getting in meditation is getting to that spot. And you might, if you've never meditated or you're not good at it, it's practice. It's just sitting there, the discipline to sit there and to keep trying and to keep doing it. And eventually your brain will get used to it. And, detaching yourself from your thoughts, detaching yourself from your emotions. It's not easy all the time, for sure. But getting to that spot as like the observer is what I see as kind of the ideal place. And you're kind of just at one, right? Everything's kind of at peace. And that spot is I believe, alpha rich, or even alpha theta. And that's alpha theta is when you really can process things, even on a subconscious level. You can process some of those old traumas and dilemmas and stresses.
That's awesome. So how many times have you done neurofeedback yourself, and what have you seen? What results have you seen personally?
Yeah, I've done hundreds of sessions.
Wow.
But over the years, right? Some, frequently, and then take some long breaks or do it once a month or something. And my results, when I first did my first series, I noticed some pretty cool things. I was going home and wanting, and always kind of in a habit of just grabbing a beer or grabbing a drink to relax, kind of shift modes. And I noticed that I would have I even found myself doing it like a couple days in a row. I'd come home and I would start to go to the refrigerator, and I would actually pause for a second, and I would say, my normal reason for going there is it's not driving me right now. So I would just say, I don't want it. So that was pretty significant and pretty interesting. And I also noticed myself, the junk drawers, wherever you have your junk drawers, like I noticed myself just having a few extra minutes and just maybe trying to find something and just like totally organizing it, totally getting rid of the junk and organizing it. And so that was also kind of interesting. I have a client who she brings her daughter in, and they've come in for lots of sessions. And she actually notices that with her daughter. Now that they've done quite a few sessions, she'll come in more as needed, or once a month or so, and she notices her daughter's room will get cluttered and messy if she hasn't been in for a little while, and then she brings her in, and then her room is tidy. So it's a mirror. Our environment is a mirror of our mind, mental state. So at least largely.
Wow. So clear your mind, clear your house, get a clean house.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And yeah, so you talked about just, going home and you're stressed, had a long day, and you reach for a glass of wine or a beer, and you found that you don't have to do that anymore. So that's awesome. Do you have other clients that come to you for similar like dopamine associated behaviors?
Yeah, definitely addiction. I've had a good handful of people come in that's help them quit smoking or to help them quit drinking. And so, yeah, it's definitely helped. It kind of takes, there's also the habitual part of it. So there's that too. But it definitely can help. So wow. I think drinking and smoking are probably the main things that I've seen people for as far as addiction goes.
Awesome. And I've always wondered this, what would it be like a person who has just chronic pain? And, that's a stressor on its own because they're worried about the pain limiting them from working out or whatever the case may be. Have you seen any people with that as their chief complaint come to you?
I have. And honestly, there's a lot of times, or I've had some clients that come to me kind of, again, at their wits' end. And There, I would say about half of the time that we have been able to help, but then there are lots of other issues involved. And so I personally don't tell people it's, yeah, it'll cure your pain. But it definitely can, just like addiction, it can help. It can slow, it can just help you to deal with it better. It can bring down the stress levels. So holding your body tight, being in fight or flight is going to increase inflammation. So it's definitely can be part of the whole program.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to take you back a little bit. So
Okay.
you've been doing this for about 7 years. If you could go back to when you first started, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? As far as neurofeedback, how would you help facilitate it, make it better?
So I think that I was too shy in the beginning to really tell people they needed 10 to 15 or 20 sessions. And, because it's not necessarily cheap. The system I have now is actually a lot more affordable than the previous one I had. So it might not apply for this, but yeah, I was maybe a little shy to say, you need 15 sessions. And so that's definitely something I would probably change, because the thing is you can shift and change the brain, but you really have to anchor it in. You have to make those structures really solid, and your brain has to shift into those new networks and let the other ones atrophy. And so it takes reinforcement. It takes cumulative sessions. I said earlier, one session for stress, and that's totally true. It might not necessarily last, but if you do 10, 15, 20 sessions, your brain reorganizes itself. So I think that is definitely one of the main things I would change.
Awesome.
Going back in time.
Right. Yeah. It's always fun to think about that. Are there any other things, that you recommend for people coming from neurofeedback? Is it any kind of supplements, any other, of course, sleep, but anything else like that you recommend to help, with reorganizing the brain, with helping the anxiety, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. I always offer some herbal nutritional consultation, lifestyle wellness medicine, stuff that they can do at home. So yeah, there are lots of things that we can do. There's no one modality that's everything, right? And so adaptogenic herbs, nervine herbs helps you to the nervous system. Well, helps the adrenal response not to be so quick to pump out all the cortisol. The nervines are great for some people who just need something to bring them down a notch. So I mix up tinctures for people, or offer herbal teas or infusions. Boost nutrition, you can do that through herbs as well. Of course, Orthomolecular has some great products that great for the adrenal system. People who are in fight or flight, stress response, minerals, magnesium, it's a fantastic one. I think we're pretty much all deficient on it. So magnesium is a huge one, really, just to flood the body with good nutrients that your body can then use to do what it needs to do to deal with the stresses. I think that our food, even if you eat organic, it's depleted. Unfortunately, that's the case. The minerals aren't there like they used to be, because we don't use the practices that we used to of rejuvenating the soil. Of course, organic is better, but we've lost a lot of topsoil, so those minerals are missing. So minerals are huge. Minerals are huge. Yeah, and then always, if sleep's a problem, we always try to focus on that, because you need that to really release those human growth hormone, et cetera, to really clean and fix the body at that time.
Awesome. And so, of course, this is going to help us sleep, right? it's going to help you recover.
Can help, yeah.
Yeah. I want to dive into the flow state. And, you know, as an athlete or a runner, you get into that state where you just run. You don't even think about the time or the steps. You know the feeling once you're there. And once you're not there, you try so hard to get back. And can you talk about that? What brainwave state that is and what you've seen with the flow states? And has anyone ever talked about that, you know, with you, or have you talked about that clients, et cetera?
Yeah, I think it's an ideal state to be in because it feels so good, and it's good for us, right? It helps you to clear the mind. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's higher in a state that's higher in alpha, and just that zone. And really, that zone, the zone is the zone, whether it's in meditation or it's in your, you know, 5th mile or 10th mile or whatever of running or whatever it is that you're doing to get there. But yeah, it's hugely beneficial as far as how it affects the body and how I think it harmonizes the mind and the body and the heartbeat, you know, the brain waves and the heartbeat. I believe that's really what's happening. That's why they call it the flow state, right? Because you are getting into that coherence.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what about diet? Have you noticed any different diets with your patients that have better results when they're doing therapy or just for brain chemistry in general?
Hydration is huge, for sure. Getting good water, good quality water, spring water or reverse osmosis water, I think is good if you're adding minerals, enough minerals during the day. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of benefit to keto, a lot of benefit to paleo. There's a huge issue with the way we consume carbohydrates. So, running on carbohydrates and sugar is inflammatory, first of all, inflammatory to the brain, but it also, it doesn't allow us to really think as clearly as we can. I stopped eating sandwiches at lunch 15 years ago. That's what I used to eat, you know? And then I realized, I was just tired all the time after lunch. And so then I went to half open face sandwiches. It still didn't, it was like better, but it was still making me tired. So just getting your carbs from your vegetables is ideal, especially for lunch, I think. Definitely good quality fats, making sure they're not rancid. Flaxseed, for example, you gotta be able to smell it. If you buy it ground, you gotta be able to smell it. It's worse, I think, to eat rancid fats than it is to not eat them. High quality fats, great for brain function. I mean, your brain is mostly protein, fat, cholesterol, a combination of that, and water, of course. But that's what the brain runs on, and more fish oils and things like that help. I will often recommend people to take some of those supplements while they're doing neurofeedback, just to help the brain to do what it needs to do, restructure itself, and build new connections and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Love it. Love it. All right. So I'm going to ask you a question, and this could be neurofeedback if that's what it is, but just in general, in the past 6 months, what health-related product under $150 has had the biggest impact on your health?
Well, I'm going to go with the cheap one. I think magnesium. I think magnesium is a really great one for, it's got so many things that it does in the body. So I think it helps me to relax. It helps me with stress. So that's what I've been doing recently, actually.
Awesome. What form of magnesium do you take?
It's the redacted magnesium.
Oh, so the chelated minerals, chelated malate, glycinate, the blend. Yeah. Do you take it in the morning or do you take it before bed?
Morning usually. Yeah.
Yep.
Just to help me with the day. I'll add something else to that too. This whole 2-month period of COVID lockdown or whatever you want to call it, it's been stressful for everybody, I think. It's also had some really good things that I think that have come out of it, but the uncertainty and all, it's been stressful. And so, one of the other things that I absolutely love is from Host Defense. I've been taking comprehensive immune support from them, but I've also been taking their stress decompress, or whatever their stress formula is. So are you familiar with Host Defense?
No, but I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's incredible. Paul Stamets is, they have a documentary out called Fantastic Fungi, I think.
Okay.
And
nice.
It'll get you excited about taking mushrooms or medicinal mushrooms if you're not already. So
awesome. Very
medicinal
cool.
Mushrooms, yeah, they're absolutely incredible. And I'm growing some now too. So it's fun too.
That's awesome. Well, next time we do a podcast, we'll have you in the garden and you can showcase all your.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know your social media has tons of vegetables in your garden. So it's always fun.
Oh yeah.
Watching you on Instagram there. Awesome. Okay. So if you could make a billboard that as many people in the world could see, and it was just, 1 to 2 things that people could do for their health to help optimize it and to help just live better, healthier lives, what would those 2 lines on that billboard say?
Put me on the spot, huh? See, this is where I want to sit down and think. Off the top of my head, huh? I'm not necessarily the best marketer either, but
it could just be take magnesium, drink your water, or something.
I think it would say breathe, and breathe and be present. Enjoy this very moment. You could focus on all the crap that's going on, and you could put yourself in a place that we would call hell, or you can focus on what it is that you want. And so I think if we breathe, we connect ourselves with the environment. We step barefoot on the ground. We connect. We exchange ions with the earth, and we think about what it is. I mean, this is way more than 2 words, 2 lines on a billboard. Okay. If we think about what it is that we want to create, and we pull that into our experience, that's really where we need to go, and however you get there, I think that's ultimately where we should be going, because it's just the fear that everybody has right now, the majority of the population has, it's destroying our health. It's destroying our mental process. It's not allowing us to get into the flow state. It's not allowing us to create something that might benefit the world and ourselves. So long answer, but breathe and kind of enjoy what's happening right now around us.
Breathe and be present. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. So this question is easy.
Okay.
What does your morning routine look like?
Okay. So, my morning routine definitely consists of waking up early. That varies, but usually 5:30 or 6. Drinking a glass of morning mineral elixir, which is Aubrey Marcus's term, I think.
Nice.
For basically Himalayan salt and a little squeeze of lemon or lime, and it's 16 ounces, and chugging that. That's amazing. That's definitely energizing. Get all the trace minerals. And meditation, 20 to 30 minutes usually. And then it kind of varies. I'll either read, or I'll study something, or I'll journal. And then I'll do a workout usually. and drink a little more water, and then hit the road to work. I think that's usually what happens.
That's a good routine right there.
Well, I forgot breakfast, but
Yeah,
but
nice.
I do eat breakfast after
all that.
Yeah, usually before I work out.
Awesome. Yeah, I read On the Day by Aubrey and Marcus as well, and I do the salt. I do the salt. If I have the lemon available, I'll do that. I might take a few supplements while my coffee is brewing. I have to have the coffee still. I'm not there yet.
I do too. I didn't mention that one. I do too. Yeah.
Of course. Awesome. So this is so much fun talking with you about neurofeedback. I think it's a topic that a lot of people don't know about, but maybe they should, especially in the environment today. Yeah. And just let people know where we can find you on social media, your website, etc.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a blast. I appreciate it. So headwayhealth.com is my main site for my practice. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Try to post regularly there. It's Headwayhealth, Headway.health on Instagram, and Headwayhealth on Facebook as well. And those are the main ways you can find me.
Awesome. So I'll put all the links to the show notes. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to Michael. He's a wealth of knowledge in the brain chemistry, neurofeedback, as well as your traditional acupuncturist plus herbalist. So Michael, thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. And everyone else, if you're listening to this, please subscribe. We're going to have episodes with practitioners like Michael. We're trying to do this every week. So we're excited just to have a wealth of practitioners who are into health as much as Michael. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.